Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
Daily Compliance News for August 10, 2021, the Surface Over Substance Edition. We're going to hold that story till the end of this podcast. We're going to begin with the NPR reports that a Florida federal judge has okayed cruise lines' COVID vaccination requirements for passengers in Florida. This overturns the law championed by Florida idiot Governor Ron DeSantis, which slapped businesses with a fine of $5,000 per violation for asking customers to prove that they've been inoculated against the coronavirus health crisis. The decision allows Norwegian to proceed with its first trip from Miami since the pandemic disrupted the cruise industry, and once again shows that there is some, and I emphasize some, sanity in the federal courts when it comes to the health crisis that is still amongst us and exacerbated by idiots like DeSantis. Next up from the BBC, the IPCC's report on climate change is a code red for humanity. The landmark study warns of increasing extreme heat waves, droughts, and flooding, and a key temperature limit being broken in just over a decade. A UN chief said that this is a code red for humanity. Scientists say a catastrophe can be avoided if the world acts. Of course, unfortunately, half the world is made up of Republicans who don't believe in climate change, nor do they believe in doing anything about it. So pretty damning news from the IPCC. Let's hope that something can happen positive. Next up from the Wall Street Journal, the crypto exchange Poloniex is to pay $10 million to settle an SEC probe. It's an unregulated cryptocurrency exchange whose employees said they wanted to be aggressive about trading digital assets, even though their legal status was uncertain. It violated investor protection laws by not registering its operations with federal regulators, the SEC said. The Boston-based company allowed users to trade digital assets that were unregistered securities from 2017 through 2019. And we conclude with our lead story, which comes to us from the always great and indeed fascinating On Management column by Andrew Hill, entitled Beauty and the Beastly Habit of Picking Surface Over Substance. He uses an inquiry from a reader about a more current picture above his byline to talk about how people are viewed because of the way they look, and particularly when it comes to leadership. He said that obviously this is something that's been happening to women for quite some time, although perhaps not as much as you might think in the business world, because interestingly, there's so few women at those higher levels that he thinks they may be getting a pass. And this beauty is beastly effect can apply really throughout. Physical fitness, body shape, and in some disciplines, artistic merit play a part in putting Olympians on the podium. But that doesn't always hold true in the business setting. So it was almost a tongue-in-cheek, yet I think whenever Andrew Hill writes, it is definitely worth reading and listening to. And he's got a new picture above his byline, so if you can subscribe to the FT, check it out. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.